The Russians are receiving KN-23 ballistic missiles from North Korea. These missiles are among the main tools used for terrorizing civilians, and they are used by the Russians to strike residential buildings, including hitting a high-rise building in Kyiv, killing 4 people in January this year. This was reported by the head of the president's office, Andriy Yermak. These ballistic missiles contain Western components, and we constantly tell our partners about this. Now, North Korea has transferred 100 missiles and will transfer more. With these missiles, Russia is killing Ukrainians, and North Korea is refining their effectiveness for possible future use on the Korean peninsula, just as the North Korean military is gaining knowledge on the front lines, he stated. Yermak stresses that democracies should step up as conditions are being created today for the future use of Iranian, Russian, and North Korean weapons against the democratic world. Strengthening export controls and sanctions is critically necessary, the head of the president's office concluded. North Korea may have supplied Russia with its powerful M1991 multiple launch rocket systems capable of striking targets up to 60 kilometers away, informs Forbes. North Korea is reported to have supplied Russia with 100 artillery systems, including M1989 self-propelled howitzers and M1991 multiple launch rocket systems. Analyst David Axe notes that the M1989 howitzers fire 170mm shells weighing 45 kilograms each, with a range of at least 40 kilometers. He describes the M1991 as a significant addition to Russia's artillery capabilities. The M1991 system can launch 240mm rockets weighing 187 kilograms up to 60 kilometers. Axe claims that this MLRS surpasses most of the artillery systems used by Ukraine, except for the US-supplied HIMARS. The North Korean military stores its M1991 launchers in mountain fortifications along the demilitarized zone between the two Koreas. In wartime, these systems could target Seoul. The analyst adds that these launchers could strike Ukrainian trenches and counterfire against Ukrainian howitzers and launchers. The M1991 could even hit Kharkiv, which is only 25 miles, 40 kilometers from the Russia-Ukraine border. North Korea has supplied Russia with ammunition and ballistic missiles, which have been used to strike Ukraine. Western media reports suggest that North Korea has also provided Russia with long-range missile and artillery systems. Additionally, it was revealed in the autumn that North Korea sent over 10,000 soldiers to Russia to participate in the war against Ukraine. According to Ukraine's defense forces, North Korean troops have already engaged in combat in Russia's Kursk region. Reports indicate casualties among North Korean soldiers and officers.
3.35米直径里面只能放2台液发100的这个发动机，但是现在变到3.8米以后呢，它可以放4台这个就是液发100的这个发动机。滚绑火箭的这个运载能力、可靠性啊，还有我们的这个性价比啊，大幅的提升。
可以兼顾3.35米、3.8米、4.2米直至5米直径的多构型的火箭，可满足19型火箭的发射需求。采用3频侧发模式设计，具有发射区站位时间短、环境适应好等特点。
Russia is desperate to seize as much Ukrainian territory as possible before newly elected US President Donald Trump is inaugurated and the Russian economy suffers even greater losses. This explains the Russians' not entirely unsuccessful efforts to dislodge the defense forces from the Kursk region, which are costing the Russian army quite dearly. In addition, the enemy is advancing in eastern Ukraine, using the tactics of mad assaults that end in bloody disaster for poorly trained, poorly led, poorly supplied Russian formations. But in general, the war-weary Russian military is not ready for what the Kremlin is now asking of it, says Forbes columnist David Axe. The Russians are pushing ahead and taking huge losses. Daily counts of Russian dead and wounded now regularly exceed 1,500. The total number of Russian casualties after 33 months of large-scale war in Ukraine is between 600,000 and 730,000. On November the 21st, for example, a long column of Russian vehicles, likely from the 3rd Motorized Rifle Division, rolled up to the positions of the Ukrainian 3rd Assault Brigade west of Novovodanoy, on the border of the Donetsk and Kharkiv regions. The Russians dropped off dozens of infantrymen there, who then moved on foot. But drones and artillery from the 3rd Assault Brigade pursued the vehicles, destroying or damaging several of them before turning their attention to the Russian infantry. When the dust and smoke cleared, the Russian assault force was scattered and broken. Dead infantry littered the road and fields. The luckiest Russians had managed to get only 1,000 feet from their supposed starting point, Novovodanoy. At no point did they pose a significant threat to the 3rd Assault Brigade's positions, the author emphasizes. Apparently, the Russian assault group did not receive significant artillery or air support. The Russians did not even bother to release smoke as they advanced to protect themselves from drones. Nick Reynolds, an analyst at the Royal United Services Institute in London, named the main problems of the Russian armed forces in an article for the National Interest. The full-scale invasion of Ukraine was a painful defeat for the Russian ground forces. Although they managed to avoid total defeat in 2022 and 2023, the quality of their units has deteriorated due to attrition. The best trained and experienced Russian infantrymen are concentrated in a few elite units. At the same time, undertrained recruits under ambivalent leadership fill the bulk of the frontline units. The few good units in the Russian army are effective, but they are used in an ineffective way. During mass attacks, they are simply killed. The same goes for armored forces. Tanks, which cannot compete with drones, can act as improvised howitzers, firing from relatively safe positions many kilometers away from the enemy. However, when they are brought closer to the front, they are in danger. Because of the Russian military culture and complete disregard for its personnel, operations are at best cumbersome and more often simply unfeasible with the available forces, Reynolds said.